Hello everybody. Today we are going to be installing a Radiantz kit to get rid of these tail lights. So everything is going to sit right under the fender down here. This also comes with, I got the version that comes with a license plate, so this is going to replace that whole thing. So let's go ahead and open this up, check it out. Here's the kit. Here we got the instructions. Here we have the new license plate holder and the sticker. The all-important sticker. All right. And here we have the replacement plugs. So this just looks like a plug and play type thing. So you just kind of So this kind of looks like a plug and play where once you take off the fender, there's a plug that looks exactly like this, and maybe just plug it in and then it'll work. I've watched a couple other videos and they actually had to splice some of the wires and they had to tap into the wires. So now that doesn't seem to be the case anymore. It doesn't seem like you have to do that, at least with the main module. The bracket, got a couple wires, screws. Oh, and it does come with, there's LEDs on the bracket itself as well. So that will illuminate the license plate. Can you go ahead and just lift this off? And I haven't unplugged it. So just be careful when you unplug it. You can take out, give yourself a little bit more room. Okay. That one just pops out like that. So this seems like it would plug into that other one. So if I'm correct, this will plug into this one like that, and then this one will plug into this other one here. So yeah, looks like that would plug in. And this is going to replace this whole bracket. So this is just going to sit underneath it just like that. So that actually seems incredibly easy, just to plug in everything. So let's go ahead and open this up a little bit. So let's go ahead and cut these zip ties. As always, be very careful not to cut the wires. All right, so let's go ahead and take off the nuts, and then we can pull out the whole thing. All right, so to get these little bolts off, these little nuts off, just use size 8. It's 3. Just take the washers out. You can see this whole thing just pop out. There you go. Save the washers. Yeah, there we go. There we go. And we're still gonna keep this on, but you can see that's how you would remove the tail light in case you ever need to remove it, or the brake light rather. So this is gonna sit on top of here. All right, I just realized on this bracket you can slide these around. So to move these, you're going to need a size 10 head, X head, whatever it's called. So these have quite a bit of play, so you can figure out what's going to work best. And then tighten it down. Yeah, towards the outside. So I realized one thing to help to hold this up so you can get all the alignment right. Since this bottom screw isn't going to be used for anything else other than to hold it, you can just use this to hold everything in place. There we go. So now that's being held in place, so now it makes it much easier to figure out the alignment on this, because it took me a couple tries to figure out how exactly to tighten these down in such a way where nothing's coming off at an angle, nothing's putting undue stress anywhere, but get it tight enough to where it minimizes the gaps. I mean, making sure that everything is balanced and aligned properly. I was spending so much time just holding this up and trying to figure out everything with one hand. I just realized, of course, after I got everything on, wait a minute, I can just screw that in and now I don't need to hold it and I have a much easier time getting everything together. So what I did was, once I figured out, okay, this needs to be there, this needs to be there, tighten down these screws, making sure this is all tightened down, and took a couple tries just to make sure that everything's aligned properly. But now what we can do is stick the washers and put everything else back on. But before that, what I'm going to do is go ahead and mount the license plate holder on here. So that way I won't be trying to fiddle with screws in a tiny gap. So let's go ahead and put that on. The only other thing I need to figure out is how to splice the lighting wire onto the license plate. So if I'm supposed to splice it onto something in here, or if there's another wire that I'm supposed to splice into. One's just ground, so I can just find a ground wire, and that's pretty straightforward. But the white one, I might just, cut this back, splice it into that, and see where that gets me. Because I know that wire is what powered the white LED for the license plate, so I might just splice into that and just call it a day. But let's go ahead and mount the license plate holder. Alright, so we got the license plate mounted. I realized that it didn't come, the 4 screws that comes with are to mount the license plate itself to the bracket, so I just grabbed 2 other screws and bolts and put those on. So now let's go ahead and test it. I still have these 2 wires. I don't know if I'm gonna, where I'm supposed to splice these into, because it does say you are supposed to connect it directly to the provided unit, and I'm not sure if that means this cable or if there's another cable I need to splice into, so I'm going to leave these for now, but that shouldn't matter in terms of the testing. So we just simply take this connector, plug it directly in, just like that. Now when we turn the bike on, and because I have the, there we go. Alright, so you can see we have our LED, so everything seems to be working. Left turn, right turn, hazards, cancel, and brake, and yeah, we have it set up so that way, by default it's going to strobe. So that's actually going to be good, because that's going to grab more attention. So, everything works. So then we'll disconnect this, mount everything up, figure out what to do with these 2 wires. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. It's only the white LEDs underneath the license plate anyway, so it's not a huge deal. And then we'll figure out what to do from there and mount everything back up.
Hey everyone, not sure what happened, but my GoPro decided to record in hyperlapse mode, so no audio was captured, unfortunately. I decided to splice directly into the wires that illuminated the license plate. So if you're doing this, you'll find a black and white wire, and I ended up cutting off the connector and spliced the 2 wires directly together. A better procedure would be to reuse those connectors, but I'm not quite sure how to take the wire and put it into a connector and have it be secure, so I don't know how to do that. So I ended up just splicing everything directly together. I then put on shrink wrap, wrapped up the wires in electrical tape, and then mounted up the hardware. And I will mention that cable management is very important here. I made the mistake of not tying everything down enough, and when I went riding, some of the wires actually sagged enough to the point where they could make contact with the tire. This caused the tire to eat away at the wire and caused my turn signals to no longer work. I only know this happened because I got a check engine light that would come on sporadically and randomly, and I didn't know what was going on, and it wasn't until I stopped and took a look at everything that I realized, hey, my turn signals and my brake light aren't working. The red lights would stay on, but if I tried to put in any inputs like braking or turn signals, nothing would happen. So obviously that's not a good thing. So once I got home, I ended up going back in. I saw how torn up some of the wires were. So I ended up splicing those back together and then making sure everything was properly secured. Once I did all of that, everything worked flawlessly once again. So learn from my mistakes. As always, make sure everything is properly secured so that way you don't unintentionally ride dangerously by not having your turn signals.
All right, so if I was to do this again, I would actually use a shorter screw that's just holding down the rear light or the tail light, because now there's not enough clearance to fit the module cleanly back here. Which is unfortunate, and I don't really want to undo everything just to scooch that in. So I'm just going to keep it there and start zip tying stuff together. All right, so just doing a test of everything again. I got it plugged in. When I first put it on, I did notice that the license plate was so bent it was actually hitting the tire. So I thought maybe I'd put it on wrong, but I was looking at the bracket and there wasn't really a way for it to make sense without the wires coming out this way. So I guess it just came way too bent. So I physically just kind of pulled it and yanked it a little bit with a little bit of force, and being really careful not to overstretch it or warp it or snap it or something. But I was able just to pull it, and now it has some clearance. But yeah, when I first put it on, the bracket was touching the tire, and I actually couldn't get the fender on properly. So that's how bent it was. So something to consider. You may need to just pull it. Let's go ahead and turn on the bike. So now you can see with the LED lights on, and you can even see that the license plate light is on, so that's good. So once again, left light, you can see that's blinking, right hand light. And to test out the braking, just look in the reflection of the bumper of my car, and you'll see it does strobe. You'll see the tail light will stay on, but the LED module will flicker. So you can see here the base module with the smoke lens and the license plate holder and everything else is about $320, or yeah, $320 with the module. I think the original price is $200, so pay $120 for the module. That will change the colors, or it'll stop blinking amber. And then license plate holder is 90 bucks. I would say this is probably not worth it. You know, it might be more worthwhile to figure out if there's another license plate holder. For $90 for a bracket, you know, that's pretty expensive. I thought it'd be a little bit more, I thought it'd be something a little bit better, but it does come integrated with the light and all that, so it is what it is. And then I was able to find a 15% off coupon. So all in all, I paid $350 for this. We'll see if this is a worthwhile investment. Installing it was fairly easy. The hardest part was just routing all the wires and just getting it all together. But it's definitely a lot easier from what I've seen before, where people had to like tap into the wires, splice the wires, all the wires together. This is much more plug and play, so it's a lot more user friendly and a lot easier to manage for, I would say, your average rider who's not really like me, who's not really too experienced in terms of tapping into wires or splicing wires together and all that. But all in all, I think it looks really nice. So if this is something that you may want to consider, leave a comment down below what you think. But otherwise, that's kind of my overall summary. I paid $350 for all of this, and I would say my biggest gripe was that license plate holder, but just pulling it apart, pulling it back, then it made it all fit. But otherwise, overall, pretty straightforward installation. So with that, everything is installed and good to go. So all that's left is to screw down everything, put the fender, or put the sissy bar back on, and we'll call that a success. And then we'll tuck all the wires and everything else, of course, as well. And then we'll put the license plate on, with the 4 screws. So all right, everybody, so that's going to be about it for the installation of the Radiantz tail light. So I think it looks pretty good. I think it cleans up, it definitely cleans up the rear pretty nicely. So if you have any questions, please do leave a comment down below. As always, be brave, do good, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one.